tasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram munina Patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi Abahu purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Srimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha. So good morning everybody. Today is a very auspicious day. It is called Vasant Panchami, which is the 5th day of the moon in this month, and it is the signaling of the spring season for us here in the northern hemisphere. The spring for us starts now and it ends in a couple of months in a festival called Holi, which actually is the signal of the full spring in blossom. But this day today is the signal of the starting of the direction towards spring, and it's a very auspicious day, and it's very fortunate that we are all here today to start this process. The Vasanta Panchami is also associated with the goddess of learning, who is in Indian mythology called goddess Saraswati. And so it's a very good day that there is a learning process that is starting today. In the 90s and in the first decade of the 21st century, for many years, my father, my teacher, had this morning Saturday class of the sutras. Usually you would have it a bit earlier at 8 o'clock in the morning before other classes in the institution started. But we are having it here a little bit later because most people find it more comfortable at a little bit later on the weekend. So we will dedicate this session to the Yoga Sutra philosophy of Patanjali, because that is what my father also was talking about. And we will start from the beginning of the sutras so that we begin right where Patanjali wants us to begin. So, among the different philosophies that have come from India, yoga philosophy is one of the most important and most practical philosophies that we have today. It's part of what is called as the Shat Darshanas. There are 6 schools of philosophy, among which yoga is one of them. The 6 schools are called the Shat Darshanas, and yoga is believed to be the 5th of the 6th in terms of chronological evolution. It is located a little bit after Sankhya philosophy and before Vedanta philosophy. And this Yoga Sutra is written in a certain format called the sutras. It is in the form of aphorisms, which are short verses which contain a lot of meaning, which is important for us to understand that there is many layers of meaning even in short sentences. So we will start with the sutras and go from the beginning of the first chapter onwards and see where this leads us. The first chapter of the Yoga Sutra is called as Samadhi Pada. This is the chapter of Samadhi, which is considered as the goal of yoga. Samadhi is a state of mind that we can one day hope to achieve. It's a state of mind where we feel totally linked to ourselves and therefore all the others around us. There are many definitions for this, both from the sutras and from other texts that we will explore as the right time arrives. Patanjali starts with this chapter with the verse Atha Yoganushasanam. The first verse is presenting the topic of discussion of this text, and he says Atha Yoga Anushasanam, which in a very simple way, when we translate, means now we begin the teaching of yoga, now we begin the science of yoga. But as I said, we will explore many layers of meanings for these verses or these sutras. So when you look at the sutra, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, the word Atha is the first word of the sutras. It's a very auspicious word. Atha represents auspiciousness. There is some verses in the Vedic tradition where they share the auspiciousness of this word Atha. Omkaraha Atha Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmana Pura Kantam Bhitva Viniryataha Tasmat Mangalika Vibhav. The mythology says that in the old times, when the creator Brahma first opened his mouth, two words came out at the same time. One was Omkaraha, the Omkara, which is the Pranava mantra. Many of us are familiar with this mantra that is called Om or Pranava. At the same time, there is also the other sound that came that is called Atha Shabdaha, the sound Atha. So this verse is saying that when Brahma, the creator, opened his mouth for the first time, these two syllables came out, these two words came out. And therefore, Tasmat Mangalika Ubhav, therefore they are considered to be Mangalika. Mangalika means Mangalyam, which means auspicious, that is, they are precious. So the two words Atha and Om are considered very, very precious in the Vedic culture. So Patanjali begins the sutras with the sound Atha, which basically means he wants us to have an auspicious beginning. He says that Atha basically means there is something precious that is coming. This teaching that is going to come is precious. It's auspicious that you begin it in the right moment, in the right time, and do it in the right manner so that there is good benefits that are coming out. So what he is saying through this is that we begin the teachings of yoga with a feeling of beginning something special. And I feel that we are very fortunate because we are beginning this process on a very auspicious day as well, which is not basically our plan, but it just happened to be on this auspicious day. So that already is a sign that this is a good start, that something auspicious is blessing this process. So that is what Patanjali is saying, that yoga studies is something that we have to consider it as that it's something auspicious, something special. So begin it in the right moment, begin it in the right context. This is very, very critical. This is what is the meaning of the Mangala, Atha Shabda, as an auspicious sign. But Atha also has other meanings. The word Atha also has the meaning of what is called Sankalpa or Pratignya. Sankalpa or Pratignya means a commitment. When the teacher says Atha, he or she is committing to the student I am going to teach you, however long it takes. I will make this commitment to teach you. When the student recites the verse Atha, he or she makes that commitment to the student that I will commit to learn from you however long it takes. Because without that commitment, yoga cannot be experienced. Because unlike many things in our modern times, the practice of yoga takes time for benefits. We can benefit from some medication very quickly. But with yoga practices, whether it's asana or pranayama or meditation, etc., there needs to be given some time. We need to commit to a period of time for practice for some benefits to come. And therefore, there is the commitment between the student and teacher that, okay, we have to work on this for a period of time. We are not going to just be casual where we will meet one time and another time we will forget who you are or what you are. So the commitment is from both the teacher and the student. That is another meaning of the word Atha. That is why this sutra is also called as the Pratignya Sutra, that is the Sutra of Commitment. My grandfather Krishnamacharya always used to say, before reciting every other sutra, you repeat this sutra once again, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, so that you are reminding yourself of that commitment to engage with the practice of yoga, whatever stage you are. We have to make that commitment. That's why in those days, teachers would test the student before they would accept them. Students would also, in some ways, test the teacher before they accept them. But once they accept each other, they share that bond of commitment to learning that was not so easily disturbed or broken. This is one of the main challenges we have today, because we are living in a world where long-term commitment is not such an easy topic for us. But Patanjali brings this idea that yoga takes, and we talked about Samadhi a little earlier. Samadhi is going to happen as the mind gets refined very clearly. It means it may take many years sometimes, because mind is not so easy to refine. It's more easy to clean the body. You use some soap and it's gone, the dirt is gone. But even with the body, especially in our country like India, we have to use soap every day because it's so much pollution. So we have to clean the body every day. Imagine how much more time is required to clean the mind, and this is not an easy process. And that is where the commitment is needed, because there's also another dimension which requires this commitment, because many challenges will come out in the path of yoga. Many challenges will come in the path of yoga, and for this we need to stay together to overcome these challenges. It's just like in a relationship where two people are relating with each other, problems will often come from time to time. Now it's very easy to run away from problems. The more difficult thing is to overcome these problems and move forward. And when we have that strength to resolve the problem and move forward, hopefully the relationship becomes more meaningful and more purposeful. And that is the same thing that the yoga path is also about. Yoga path can bring out a lot of challenges that are deep inside us, both in the side of the teacher and in the side of the student. Unless there is a commitment to work together, sometimes these challenges can take us in separate directions. And that is also another problem which we have to consider. Atha also means the concept of readiness. Ready. Many of us, we want to learn, we want advice from people. I have a cough for more than a few weeks now. and I go to a doctor for advice. She gives me advice, but I am not ready to listen to that advice. Same with teaching. There may be the teacher who can teach some information, we can give some transmission of information. But are we ready to integrate this information? Are we ready to accept it? And that is why Patanjali says Atha means readiness. So for the student, what this readiness means is that the student is ready to learn. Learn not only in the intellect, but the student is ready to learn in the heart. The same for the teacher. Is the teacher ready to teach? Sometimes the teacher may be distracted. Nowadays, there are mobile telephones ringing all the time. There is the email coming all the time. We have attachments, the body where we have all this technology. We are distracted. We are not ready to teach. We are not in a state of readiness to teach, to engage with the student. We may have family problems, not just computer technology. But when I'm in front of the student, am I ready to teach? You may say, okay, 10 o'clock we have a class. But 10 o'clock, is the student ready? Is the teacher ready? That is the next question. So the readiness of the teacher and the student is also implied in the verse Atha. Please remember, Patanjali is very, very smart. Whatever the word means for the student, it also has the same significance or similar significance for the teacher. There is always both sides. It's not just that the students expect their teacher to have certain responsibility and they not, nor is it the opposite where the teachers are expecting the students to be perfect students and they not. Both have responsibility, and this is where yoga begins. This is where yoga begins. That's where the concept of Atha comes in, readiness. And when we talk about readiness, it's only correct when we talk about certain guidelines given to us by certain texts about what is the meaning of readiness. For example, we can go to the Hatha Yoga Pradipika where they actually tell us what qualifications are saying, implying that a student or teacher is ready, both for student and teacher. Utsaham sahasa dheirya. Utsaham. The student and the teacher must have what is called utsaha. Utsaha means motivation. The teacher should be motivated to teach the student. The student should be motivated to learn from a teacher. That is one sign of readiness. It's not that, oh, I have to go to this class, so boring, I have to say the same students again and again. Or the teacher, the students are thinking, it's the same old guy, so boring, his lectures. The motivation is not there, learning will not happen. That's what is utsaha. The word is very beautiful because utsaha means it's almost like it elevates you. The interaction between student and teacher must be elevating. That is what will motivate us, both for student and for teacher. That's why we chant Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu. Let us both enjoy. The teaching should not be enjoyed only by student, nor only by teacher. It has to be mutually enjoyed. That is what is utsaha. Sahasam, perseverance. We have to persevere. We should not give up. Sahasam, we should persevere. We have to continue to endure the journey. I was talking with one student some years ago who came to me for some therapeutic problems, and he was running a gym. He was running a gym here in Chennai. And he said that the maximum number of registrations for him happened on the first of New Year, first of the year, New Year's. But by the time of the second week, the attendance already drops. They already paid for the month of January, but they stop coming. This is not sahasa. Perseverance has to be there. The teacher must show up again and again. The student must show up again and again. It's not that somebody just gives up very easily. Dhairyam is what Sahana Avatu also says. Saha Viryam Karava. Virya and Dhairya are synonyms. There has to be confidence. The student must be confident to learn. Should not be fearful. The teacher must be confident to teach. Confidence, dhairyam, viryam are synonyms or closely associated with another word that is called shraddha. Shraddha is faith. So when they say dhairyam and they say virya, they are basically implying that there must be faith between the teacher and the student. I trust this student that he is going to be a good student. I trust this teacher that he is going to be a good teacher. There has to be some amount of trust. There should not be fear. The student should not fear to ask questions. Oh, can I ask this question? Should I ask this question? I have not understood. Sometimes students are afraid to ask questions. Sometimes teachers are afraid if students ask questions. What if they ask this question? What if they ask a question I don't know an answer to? When that fear starts coming in, learning is not, the person is not ready. It's very simple. A student asks a question that you don't know answer, we just have to say, I don't know, I will find out. But we don't have that confidence sometimes. That's what is dhairya. Also, as I said a bit earlier, the yoga path will bring out many of the challenges. Please remember, when we refine our mind, many things that are hidden deep inside us can come out. Things which we don't know about. Sometimes these are not always positive. These may be negative. This may come out. We have to deal with it. We cannot be afraid of what comes out. Because please remember, yoga is a spiritual practice. When we say spiritual, I don't only mean religious. I mean a spiritual practice in the sense of understanding us more and more deeply. Understanding ourselves more and more deeply. And when we do that, when we say we have to understand us deeply, we have to understand what is inside us also. And some of the things is not really going to be good, because we all have a bright side and we also have a shadow side. Sometimes we don't want to see it, but it doesn't mean that because you don't see the shadow is not existing. So sometimes these shadows become obvious. We can get scared of it. That's where there is dhairyam. You need to have confidence and courage to deal with this. Tattva jnanam, another aspect of the qualification or readiness, is tattva jnana. Tattva jnana means that basically we have to know what we are doing. We have to be clear with what we are doing. We should not be unclear what we are doing. We have to be very clear in the path we have chosen, in the practices we are doing. We should not be ambiguous. That's a problem many of us have today. Many of us, we don't know what we want. Sometimes we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we want. It's very clear what we don't want, but what is not clear is what we want. It's the opposite of tattva jnana. Tattva jnana is knowing very clearly what is it that we want, what is it that we don't want. What is our priorities? Because in yoga abhyasa, as you will learn later, there is what is called vairagyam. You have to let go, give up some things which are not priority. You have to embrace some things which are priority. You have to give up some things that are not priority. So, knowing very clearly what is important, what is not important, is a very essential quality of a teacher and a student in the path of learning. Because the teacher may say, "Come at this time for this class. This time is very essential." Now, you may have something else to do at this time, or you may have planned something else. Now, is that important, more important than this? Sometimes the student may need the teacher because there is some severe problem. Or the teacher has to think, okay, I have planned something else, but this is more important. I have to focus on this student's problem now. That is secondary priority. So there must be a clarity both on the teacher side and the student side. What is priority and what is not. This is also a sign of readiness. The ability of a person to have that readiness, to have the clarity of what is their priority. Nischaya. Nischaya means not to be wavering. Today in the modern society, we are living in a time of distractions. Imagine when this text, Atha Pradipika, in the 1200s, is talking about distractions. They had very little distractions in those days. They didn't have big shopping malls, they didn't have movies, they didn't have cinemas, they didn't have all these distractions that are possible. But even then they talked about distractions. So imagine how much more relevant distraction is, because yoga is a path where we have to go deep, not wide. Yoga is a process of going deep, not wide. And to go deep, you have to dig in the same place deep. There's a metaphor that my father often used to quote, story for this. He would say that sometimes we choose to dig in one place because somebody says to us, oh, if you dig here, there is some water. So we dig for about 5 minutes there. We don't find water, so we say, oh, maybe this is wrong. So we go somewhere else and dig another 5 minutes. And then we go another place and dig another 5 minutes. So we don't find water anywhere. But had we dug in the same place, for all this time together in the same place, perhaps we would have dug deep enough to find that water. So that is what is non-wavering. You don't have to go from one to the other to the other. This is so important in the path of yoga, that we stay focused. This is very, very important. Jana-sanga parityaga. To avoid gossiping people, to avoid gossip. One of the problems in our time is that we are a very gossip-based society. Gossip takes a lot of energy, and gossip is disturbing the mind, it is distracting the mind. And in the Vedic philosophy, they say that gossip is the opposite of the truth. As yoga seekers, we are seekers of truth. And if you want to seek the truth, you should not engage in gossip. Because actually they say that the truth reveals itself in maunam, in silence. Truth is revealed in silence. Truth is not revealed in gossip. And that is the problem today in our modern society as well. We have so many avenues to gossip, either person to person, or in the internet, or through other media. We are talking so much, but without meaning. That's why one of my father's colleagues would always say that we live in a world based on opinion, we don't live in a world based on fact. Whereas in the old days, they lived in a world based on fact, they didn't worry about opinions so much. If you look at everything today, even political elections, what kind of marketing somebody has to do, what kind of product has to be sold, everything is based on what opinions of people are. We don't want to sell the best product, we want to sell the product that is liked by the people the most, what people have an opinion for. So this is why they say, avoid company that is gossiping. Jana Sangha Parityaga. Leave off this, that is gossiping. So Hatha Yoga Pradipika lists these as the main concepts of readiness, what is called readiness for a student. Krishnamacharya adds two more qualities to this. Krishnamacharya says that there are two more qualities that are very important, which is considered under the readiness of the student. I will present to you because I want to be true to the teaching of Krishnamacharya. How you take this is your own personal choice. One of them, he said, was Acharya Kataksha. Kataksha means the glance. So Acharya Kataksha means the glance of a teacher. What does it mean? That means you are always under the observation of a teacher. You are always being observed. That means you are in a close relationship with a teacher. This is because yoga process is very dynamic. It brings out a lot of things like we talked about earlier. It can bring out positives, it can bring out negatives. But not only that, yoga process is a process that we are engaging with long term. And in long term process, there are many changes that are happening in our life. It's not only seasons are changing. Our life also changes. Sometimes we move from one location to another. Sometimes we are in a position where professionally our business or our income is going up, another time it's going down. Sometimes it could be that one period of time you are affected by severe disease like cancer, either for yourself or for a family member. Maybe there are some transitions happening in your life. Maybe a new child is born in the family, either to you or your children or somebody else, or somebody is passing away. So life is dynamic. And when you engage in a process where you have practices that are done over a period of time, there is a dynamic factor that we have to consider. So the teacher's responsibility is to constantly observe what kind of changes the person is going through and fine-tune the tools of yoga appropriately for that person through this changing life. Through this changing life. We don't really have a steady life. Nobody in the world has this. Even if there is not change outside, there is change inside. There is actually change outside and inside. So many things can happen. Things which are within our control, things which are not within our control, things which are in the control of others, things which are divine causes. Somebody can have an earthquake in their neighborhood, floods in the neighborhood, which nobody can control, but that impacts us. Some kind of attack can be done by neighbors to us, or maybe somebody drove the car in the wrong way, or like recently some kind of terrorist attack, somebody who is a fanatic can come and attack our neighbor. So many changes are not always in our control, but life is going through all these dynamic circumstances. So Krishnamacharya was always of the belief that when there is the Acharya Kataksha, that is one prerequisite, because the student is always under observation so that the teacher can take care of the student's ever-changing needs. This is also for the teacher. The teacher should also have a teacher who is observing the teacher like a supervisor, so that the teacher is also able to perform all these tasks in the right manner. So that is why this is called as a parampara. Acharya Kataksha is usually there when there is a parampara, there is a tradition of teacher-student relationship. And this is one qualification, he said, that only when a teacher and a student, they have the Kataksha of the Acharya, they are ready to actually engage in the path of yoga. This was his view. Another view, he said, which is his very strong view, is what is called Ishvara Anugraha. We have to have the grace of the divine. You have to have the grace of the divine. And this is exactly why I said to you a little earlier. Why? Because so many things that we are going through in our life, is not in our control. It's not in our control. And yoga is a set of techniques or methods, yoga practices that we are engaging through this very dynamic concept of life where everything is not in the control. So he was of the belief that for us to have a good experience of yoga, we need the grace of the divine so that the right things happen in the right time. Even if they are challenging, if you take it as a divine grace, there may be some lesson that you can learn from the challenge and not be squashed by the challenge. So he was of a very strong view that Ishvara Anugraha, the grace of the divine, is also another sign of readiness for the student and the teacher. What it means? Does it mean that God is choosing some students and not others because God or the divine is gracing one and not the other? That's not how we interpret this. What he would say is that what he means by this is that the grace of the divine is there for all. Some of us we are open to it, some of us we are not open to it. It's almost like a gift is being given, but we want to reject it. I'm always thinking, because my father told me this some years ago when he was initiating the practice of Gayatri, the Sandhya Vandana practice. He would say that how many of us we actually take one moment every day to look up at the sun and say thank you very much. Now whether we say thank you or not, the sun is always showering light on us. It's the reason why we are alive. The practice of Sandhya Vandana is only a method in which we are opening our heart to the sun. Say thank you for taking care of us. The same way, the Ishvara Anugraha is to take one moment in our life every day to actually be grateful for what we have and to be open, because only when we are open, yoga will work. So Ishvara Anugraha, in the way I understand, is a way through which we remain with our hearts open, not hearts closed. And it's only when the heart is open that yoga teaching can go inside. Not only that, also the demons that are inside can go out. Remember, if we lock ourselves in a room because we are afraid that others would hurt us, yes, nobody from outside can come in, including help. But at the same time, we cannot go inside, from inside outside. So the same way, if we close the heart, we are not only allowing the grace to enter the heart, but we are also not allowing those demons to get out. So we need to open that heart so that the teaching can come in. And that is what I understand as Ishvara Anugraha, that we are remaining ourselves with an open heart, not with a closed heart. This is another sign of Atha, readiness. So these are some of the ideas of the word Atha as readiness. Atha also has another meaning. Atha also has another meaning. Atha also means now. Now means the present moment. Many of us, we get trapped in the past or in the future. We are either always anxious about the past or we are anxious about the future. We are afraid of what has happened in the past or we are afraid of what will happen in the future. We have anxiety over the two. And therefore, what do? We miss the present moment. We miss the present moment. That is another meaning of the word Atha. And Patanjali says, be in the present moment. Maybe some good things happened in the past. It does not mean the same good things will happen now. Maybe some bad things happened in the past. It does not mean the bad things will always happen in the present. Same way, you don't know what will happen in the future. You cannot predict what will happen in the future. So if you live in the future, you are not living in the moment. So it's what the word Atha means for the student and the teacher. When a student remains in front of a teacher, he is paying attention to the teaching of the moment. He should not worry about what was taught last time, what will be taught tomorrow. He should worry about the teaching of the moment. I may be healthy in the past, I'm a bit sick now, so I must search for teachings that are relevant for me at this moment. Not because I was healthy in the past. Or the opposite, I could have been sick in the past, healthy now. So I can't do what was relevant in the past now. The same way I can't say, oh, I will be healthy in the future. Let me do whatever I can do in the future now. We will never know. So we have to listen to the signs that our body, our mind, our emotions are giving about who we are now and search for what is relevant now as a student and as a teacher. The teacher should not remember, oh, the student was so flexible last week. Why is she so stiff now? He or she is stiff now. This is what I have to deal with. So, the concept of staying in the present moment is another word meaning for the word Atha. And this is a reminder that Patanjali is saying that yoga happens when we are in the moment. Yoga is not happening before or after, it is by staying in that moment. Hatha Yoga Pradipika also says this, says you may have attained Samadhi before, but what is important is to remain there. You cannot celebrate, oh, I was in Samadhi. You may not be in Samadhi now. Focus on that moment, not what happened before or what can happen in the future. Very often I think we are preoccupied with the past and the future so much that we forget to see the gifts that are right in front of our eyes. That is why perhaps some people call it the present.